my name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo. Welcome to my YouTube channel if you are a brand new viewer, or welcome back if you are a returning viewer. So I've been having a lot of fun doing the Am I the Asshole, as well as like relationship advice reactions. So we're just gonna get right into it with our first story, and this is gonna be a mix of Am I the Asshole and like the relationship advice category, which I've been really vibing with lately. All right, let's go to our first story. All right. Am I the asshole for saying not again when she announced the pregnancy of her fifth child? I mean, you might be. See, hi, I'm a 17-year-old male. Okay, so you're a kid. All right, I'm a 17-year-old male, the younger brother of Jess, 31-year-old female. We've never really been close because there's such a huge gap, but we haven't had a really bad relationship. Okay, makes sense that you're not super close. That's almost like 17 years. It's like 14 years. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Jess has 4 kids. That's right, 4. Her eldest is a 9-year-old male, twin girl, 17-year-old female, and a toddler who's 2-year-old male. Jess is literally incapable of caring for all 4 of these kids. Okay, there it is. I was like, why do you care that she has 4 kids? You're making a big deal about it. But she knows my parents are complete pushovers who will cave into their kids. My parents run a store together, but my mom had to stay home and basically babysit these kids almost all the time since Jess and Keith, her husband, are working. All right, so now my dad is left at the store by himself working, which isn't easy. I've done my best to keep my mouth shut, but I've been roped into caring for these kids. My mom can't do it herself since it's a lot of work and support. The twin girls are super rough with each other, and watching them is like a nightmare. I've had to cancel on my friends many times to stay home with these kids. Jess and Keith don't do anything. Yes, they work jobs and provide for their kids, but they're not really doing great. If it wasn't for the fact that they were leeching off my parents' retirement fund, they would have been kicked out on the streets and living off food stamps. How are they leeching off your parents' retirement fund? I mean, are your parents cashing out their retirement fund and giving it to them? Sorry, just curious. Anyway, second part. My parents are smart with their money, and we are very well off, but they never plan to care for 4 kids. We can't keep this up forever. So anyways, last night we had a family gathering at our house, and during dinner, Jess stood up and said she wanted to make an announcement. She smiled and took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. We're having our 5th child. I couldn't help but react and blurted out in a tired tone, not again. The words came out before I could stop them. I didn't mean to say it, but come on, seriously. I mean, you meant to say it, though. Kind of agree? The room went silent and Jess gave me the death stare. I realized that there was no point in backtracking, so I said everything. Jess, this is your 5th child. You can't even support your other 4 financially, and you want another? Without our parents, you'd be on the streets. You keep leeching off their retirement fund. Look at our parents. They're tired. They're getting old. They're almost done raising us kids, and you want to throw 5 more at them? You're making my life revolve around them too. How selfish can you be? The room was silent, and it was really awkward. My mom looked like she would cry and excused herself upstairs. Everyone left an hour later and Jess stormed upstairs. Keith ended up screaming at me, calling me rude and a brat, and said Jess was a perfect mother, then stormed off to be with her. All right, my mom hasn't spoken to anyone. My dad approached me the next morning and said that everything I said last night was true and that he thanked me for standing up for us, but also that at the end of the day, Jess is family and we have to take care of them. I'm frustrated, but we need to say things. We can't say things like that. He also told me not to worry, as she was working on a college fund for me anyway. As he was working on a college fund. Then he left for work. I've been doing some thinking today, and I'm wondering if I went too far. I didn't want to hurt Jess, but if she keeps having kids, we're all screwed. I feel like I need to say something. Am I the asshole? All right. Here's the thing. I don't think you're the asshole for your reaction, because clearly her choice to have multiple kids, it directly affects you, at least at this point in your life, because you still live at home with your parents and you are forced into helping with them. So I don't think you're the asshole for this reaction. Unfortunately, because your parents are unwilling to make any adjustments, I just don't think this is going to change. Jess and Keith are going to continue to have children because your parents are there. And as long as they're there, they don't have to do anything for themselves. So, yeah, I don't think you're the asshole. I just don't think there's anything that you can do to change it. The big difference between people who want to have children and people who like the idea of having children but not the reality. And I think that your sister and your brother-in-law probably fall into the latter category. They really like having a lot of children for some reason, probably because they don't like using condoms. I don't know, I could be speculating. But anyway, they like having children, but they don't like the reality of raising them, which is that it's a lot of work, especially children who are very young. In their case, their children are still pretty young, but none of them are like, outside of the one child, is under the age of 2. Yeah, so yeah, I don't think you're the asshole, but I mean, I kind of would say it in my head. I don't know, maybe I would say it out loud. I think I would be very frustrated though if I was like 17 and I had to take care of my children, my sister's children all the time because they think that, you know, having children means just providing for them and that somebody else has to watch them all the time. So yeah, it's a pretty effed up situation. And again, like I said, I don't think it's going to change because your parents aren't willing to put any boundaries in place with your sister. And if they were, I think they're afraid that if they were to put boundaries in place, they would lose access to their grandchildren. But I don't know. Your sister would probably find out how much work it is to raise 4 kids. But yeah, sorry about that. I just have a feeling that as soon as you're old enough, you're going to leave home and you're just not going to ever look back. I mean, you love your parents, but you just don't want to be in this environment where you have to like partake in raising her kids. So no, I don't think you're the asshole for it. You can't control that she has more children. I mean, I feel like they're just going to continue to have children because your parents are there to watch them. So, you know, they don't have to actually do the hard part about having children, which is raising them. So yeah, not the asshole, buddy. All right, relationship advice. How can I, 18-year-old female, break up with the guy, 19-year-old male who's been treating me perfectly? Okay, you're very young, so we'll see. The guy, 19-year-old male, and I am an 18-year-old female I am with is amazing. He's literally the dream, the kindest, most loving, and well-rounded guy I've ever met. I've seen him in person occasionally because we go to the same church, but we've mostly just been talking online and we've been dating for 2 months, for 2 and a bit months. I don't know, does that mean 2.5? He treats me absolutely perfectly. He's got a genuine personality and I could talk to him for ages, but I don't think I'm attracted to him. I enjoy him as a person, but the more I talk with him, the more I realize I don't get butterflies around him or I'm not super turned on by him. When we kissed, it wasn't bad per se, but I can't say I loved it. It was my first kiss, so what would I know? He asked me today if I find him attractive. I said I love him, which I do. Wow, we're in the I love you stage. Okay, but I didn't directly answer that question. I really do want to look after him and make him feel loved and take care of him, but that's just how I am. I think I'm emotionally attracted to him. I think I do love him as a person, but I don't think I'm attracted to him. I don't think it's going to work, and I know for a fact none of this is fair to him. I don't really think it's love if I have to try and convince myself. I don't know what YK means. Now, the problem is, how do I tell someone this? It's our first relationship for both of us, and I know he's absolutely devastated either way. He'd be absolutely devastated either way. What am I supposed to tell him without completely breaking his heart? Our relationship is literally going perfect, and I'm about to mess everything up, and I feel really sad, but I don't know how to do it. My God, he even had us talking about if we get married in the future, obviously. I feel like I'm going to ruin his life. I know it's going to hurt him. I feel like the worst person in the world, and I'm just being shallow. I know that all of this sounds horrible. It is, and it's going to have consequences, but I don't want him to get hurt or at least minimize it if it's the most that I can do, that I can. At least minimize it's the most I can. I do care for him as a person. The last thing I want is to break him. I don't want to tell him I'm breaking up with him because he's not attracted to me. That's just mean. I know he's insecure about his looks. God, I feel like such a bad person, but I'm not sure what to tell him without trying to fix it because, of course, that's what he tried to do. I feel like the world's biggest idiot. I found the perfect guy, but I just don't think I like that. And I know it's unfair to him. I just don't know how to do it. Advice. Okay. So this is a really good one because I had a same situation. First thing I would say to you is that you are very young. You are 18, he is 19. I didn't know what I didn't know when I was younger, but I had a situation play out like this as well, where I was probably similar in age to you, probably 19, 20, and I met him on Facebook. So like I saw his picture on Facebook and I was attracted to his picture, but when I met him in person, I knew instantly that I wasn't attracted to him. I'd never had something like that come up and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't want him to feel like I was saying that he was ugly. And even though you can say to someone, I'm not attracted to you, what people tend to hear is that I'm not attractive. It's just one of those things where people don't hear what you actually said because of the nature of what you're saying. So I ended up being in a relationship with somebody for like a summer, and it was a very out of body experience because I wasn't attracted to him and I didn't know what to do with that. I thought maybe attraction will come. It didn't. So I learned that about myself, but I felt like I was faking it the whole time. And to a certain extent I was, because I wasn't attracted to him. So as somebody who has been through that and is 35 now and can look on it objectively, there is nothing wrong with meeting somebody who is a good person and a nice person and that you're just not attracted to. That's really not something you can help. Everybody's different. Some people meet somebody and they can develop an attraction over time, whereas other people like myself, I need to be attracted to you as a baseline. I can certainly become more attracted to you, but if I'm not attracted to you to begin with, I will not develop an attachment over time. So I know that those feelings of like not wanting to make him feel sad or any type of way. Yeah, so I can just tell you from experience that it's okay to look at somebody and say, you are a really nice person. You are a really sweet person. I just am not attracted to you. I'm not in any way suggesting that you are unattractive. I'm just not feeling the spark, and I don't want to waste your time because I just don't feel the spark. That's what I would do. Otherwise, you might be in a situation like me where you're dating somebody. Well, I mean, you are dating him, but you could be dating him for a long time knowing that you're just not attracted to him. And because you don't want to hurt his feelings, you end up staying much, much longer than you should. So I would say, yeah, if you're not attracted to him, just maybe even write it down and practice it. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but there's nothing wrong with doing that if you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings and it's the first time you're breaking up with somebody. You know, I think it's very nice to take his feelings into account, but take your own feelings into account as well. So if it was me and I was you, I would write it down so that I could get out what I wanted to say, and then I would say that to him and just kind of move on with my life so that you don't end up in a relationship with somebody you're not interested in romantically through no fault of your own. You don't have the spark, and that's okay. And yeah, that's okay too. And I think that might be hard for you to comprehend because he's a nice guy, but attraction doesn't really work that way. You could be attracted to somebody for a myriad of reasons. It really depends on who you are as a person, but like being a nice guy doesn't really change the attractiveness element of it. So yeah, so sorry. If I were you, like I said, I would probably write down my thoughts in terms of like why I wanted to get out of the relationship. I would practice it, and then I would say, can we talk in person? And then I would say it to him. You're probably going to feel terrible about it in the moment, and he might ask you why, and you just have to kind of stick to your, what you have in mind, which is that I'm just not attracted to you. There is no spark, and we've been together for 2 months. I can't make it happen. I didn't feel any spark when we kissed. So that's what I would do. And girlie, there's nothing wrong with that. I know you're very young, so it's probably not something you're going to be able to fully hear right now, that like you breaking up with him doesn't make you a bad person because you just weren't attracted to him. But that is the truth. It's okay. You're not attracted to him. It's not something you can help. And yeah, it's okay. It happens. It's the naturalness of like going through life and having romantic relationships and realizing what attracts you to someone and what doesn't. And you'll learn that as you go on. Yeah, so that's what I would do. I would write it out, talk to him, and break up with him so you don't end up being in this relationship for longer than you should be. So yeah, that's it. Next one. All right, so got some more relationship advice. I'm really enjoying this category. Boyfriend, 24-year-old male, said some gross stuff to me, 23-year-old male, when our relationship was rough. Should I just leave? It depends. Let's see. Well, my boyfriend and I, 23-year-old female, typo in the title. Oh, got you. Have been in a rough patch at the moment, and we're going to end it. Context. We've been going out for 5 years, and mostly it's been fine. First of all, both of us were just young and trying to work it out. I don't know why my nose is running. All right, sorry. First love for both of us, and we're just young and trying to work it out. Anyways, his stressors with life have been over the top, and as a result, I've been the person who he has been letting it out on. Every time I try to bring up any sort of issues, I felt like that I'm the problem, and I should not be giving him any more stress and frustration during this time in his life. I feel like he has completely changed in his personality as he's become more irritable, frustrated, angry, and overall lacks patience. His family can see a difference, so can I know the possible stress medications ADHD might factor into his behavior. But his family can see a difference, and so can I know the possible, I don't know, maybe there's supposed to be a comma there. Anyway, sorry. We had two options. Go on a no contact break for a couple weeks to reflect on our actions and break. And I promise I can read. To reflect on our actions and words. Break equals still together, still have boundaries of not seeing others during this time. Or 2, we can break up. Going back and forth on whether or not we should break up or go on a break was a conversation that led to him saying some stuff I was a bit shocked to hear. After saying we were going on a break, he said, "Don't come crying back to me if I've cheated and it's only been 2 weeks. I have needs as a man. If we're on a break, then you are my needs." What? Sorry. Okay, sorry. If we're on a break, then you are my needs. Huh? Did I read that sentence wrong? Sorry. So after saying we were going to break up, he said, "Don't come crying back to me if I've cheated and it's only been 2 weeks. I have needs as a man. If we're on a break, then you are my needs." I'm so sorry. I don't understand the sentence. He said he has needs as a man, which I'm assuming that means he's going to seek out sex with someone else. But if we're on a break, then you are my needs. I don't know. Totally shocked by that comment. I just said if we break up, I ain't coming back. I also pointed out that maybe he should have some self-respect, and he said, "I will use my body how I want." Okay. I mean, fair. He can use his body how I want. I get breakups are messed up and people show their true colors, but I opted to go on a break to because of potential factors that could be contributing to his actions. I know what he said was messed up, and of course when I bring it up to him after the reflective time apart and he thinks it's okay to say I will not be staying around, it made me feel like he was just using me for sex. Part of me is hoping that all of his life stressors and possible side effects from medication is making him into the person I don't know. It's hard because my heart doesn't want to leave, but my head knows it's probably the right thing to do. Should you leave? That was the relationship advice. You've been together for 5 years, so you've been together a good chunk of your 20s. There's a lot of stuff you're still figuring out when you're in your 20s. And what I will say to you is that as somebody who's in my 30s and was in a long-term relationship in the bulk of my 20s, there's so many things I didn't know and I didn't realize until after I was out of that relationship. What I'm seeing is a lot of yellow flags, and I think that if you let them, those flags will become red flags. Him needing medication is fine, but his reactions to things are intense, and life has stress. That's just the way it goes. There's stress in life all the time, from your job, from your finances, from your family. Stress exists. You just learn to live with it. Your reaction to stress cannot be to take it out on you. And if that's his reaction all the time, what does he do if something like even more stressful comes up? Like, say, if there's a death in the family, God forbid, I'm just using that as an example. So I what I would tell you, because like when you said you have two options, go on a no contact break or break up, if that's something that you're considering, I'm guessing you've probably been thinking about it for a while. I can tell you, for me, when it came to my relationship with my ex, I knew for a while that we weren't compatible, but it took me a long time to really accept that. And until I was ready to accept it to myself out loud and genuinely let go of the relationship, I couldn't leave. And once I did, I was really ready to like wash my hands of it, generally speaking. So I think it's hard because you're young, you've been with him for a while. And I think sometimes when you've been with somebody for a long time, you feel like it's an investment to a certain extent. So like, you're like, oh my gosh, if I leave this relationship, I leave with nothing. Like, I'm not married, I don't have any children. If those are things that you want, you just leave, and it feels like you wasted, in your case, 5 years of your life. But to me, it's not waste. It's experience, and it's growth, and it's things that you could only experience by going through it. So I will say that, like I said, these are some big yellow flags for me, and I just don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's only going to get worse. So if I were you, I would probably take a prolonged break. And I think when I say prolonged break, maybe more than a couple months, give yourself some time apart for him to really see the situation objectively. So you can think about everything that happened in it and really make the best decision for you. And that's what I would do. So take a break, take a long break, and figure out what is the best option for you. Is it best for you to pursue this relationship or to leave it? I feel like if I were you, I'd be leaving, but I'm also speaking to you as somebody who's almost 10 years older than you. Well, sorry, let me see, how old are you? Yeah, I'm actually more than 10 years older than you. I've been through it, and I've been in it, and it just took me a long time to leave. No matter what people said, I wasn't willing to let it go. So I'm telling you this, and I'm sure you'll take it with like a grain of salt. But yeah, take a break and then decide what's best for you. All right, next one. This is the last one. This one is an Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for yelling at my boyfriend for being late? So my knee-jerk reaction is no, because I hate it when people are late. I just hate it. Anyway, so my boyfriend and I have been together for months, and I love him very much, but he's always so friggin' late. This has been a fact of our relationship for a while, and I've accepted it. I'm a very punctual person, and he isn't. God, I've been there. Dating somebody who is incredibly late and unreliable is very frustrating when you're at the opposite end of the spectrum. Anyway, that's fine. Come on, girlie. It's not fine. You're just saying that. Or man. You said your boyfriend, but you could be a man. I don't know. But he is often 30 minutes late, 30 minutes to an hour late every time we meet up. No, absolutely not. So I've started just getting to places 30 minutes late so I don't have to wait. But last week he did something so rude, as opposed to him being like 30 minutes to an hour late consistently isn't rude. Okay. My family asked to meet my boyfriend, so I suggested dinner together, as one does. Oh no, he was late to meet your family. Oh wow. Okay. We got a reservation at a nice restaurant to celebrate the start of the school year and meet him. Of course. So my family and I sat down for our 7:30 reservation, which my boyfriend triple confirmed with me. He said he will be there. He wasn't there when we sat down. Typical. Stupid me for thinking he could be punctual. I reassured my parents, telling him he was a little late sometimes. My parents were not amused. My family would be the same way. So the waiter comes over, and we are forced to order because they will take our table. We all ordered. My parents were confused and so was I. He hadn't even texted, he was running late or anything. We got our appetizers and still no sign of him. Long story short, he showed up an hour late. When he showed up, he sat down casually and said, "Sorry, I woke up late." You said 7:30, right? I'm assuming this is dinner. I mean, 7:30 for breakfast would be early. So I'm assuming this is dinner. Woke up late? Okay, anyway, sorry, I missed the last part. My parents glared at him, shooting daggers with their eyes. I whispered in his ear to get off of the booth and went to talk to him outside. I told him how uncomfortable my parents were and how he had already made somewhat of a bad impression. They wanted to meet him and he arrived very late. This devolved into an extensive argument outside the restaurant. He said, "What's the big deal? I'm a few minutes late." Let me finish and then let me just finish. Okay. I told him it wasn't a few minutes, it was an hour. He didn't see the problem and told me I was being dramatic. I told him that I didn't want to put up with this bull. He's done this so many times, but this broke me. He couldn't invest in a watch. I'm assuming he has a cell phone. He doesn't need a watch. They have the time on them and you can set an alarm. Anyway, he couldn't set an alarm. He didn't listen to me and told me that it wasn't his fault that he was late when it was. It was so important to me and he messed up. I asked my parents to get the check and we left without him. My parents don't like it. They made it clear in the car. I ended up crying all the way home. My boyfriend texted me later and asked me why I was so angry and that I was being the a-hole. Was I the a-hole for telling him off for being that effing late? Okay, a couple things. You don't say how old you are, but I get the vibe that you're both like in high school. Not that that would change anything, but I'm just kind of, for context, I feel like you're younger. Here's what I will say. No, I do not think you are the a-hole. I don't appreciate when people are late. And it's one thing if you're a few minutes late. Like I kind of give everybody a grace period outside of like my family members. But like if I was going on a date with somebody, if I was meeting somebody for an appointment for my job, you get a grace period. I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes. After that, without any kind of acknowledgement from you, that is a disrespect of me and my time. Especially since, he knew what time it was. Now, the thing is, you know that he's always late though, right? So you know that he's anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour late. Now, I am not in any way justifying his tardiness. However, you could have also told him that it started at 6:30 and he might have actually been there at 7:30. That's kind of something, sometimes that's what you have to do with people who are habitually late if they're like your family members and you can't really get them to be on time. Yeah. Me personally, it would piss me off. I've been in this situation where somebody I was dating was incredibly unreliable all the time. And it comes to a point where you have to decide whether or not you're going to accept that as a flaw of theirs and you're just going to put up with it in just the sense that like, okay, well, this person's just late, or you're not. If it was me, I wouldn't accept it. Yeah. But the only reason I asked too about your age is because he said he just woke up. But again, 7:30 sounds like it's a dinner reservation because that would be very early for breakfast. So if you're having dinner at 7:30, what's he doing? Is this, like I said, are you guys in high school? Because who wakes up before this? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Him not seeing it as a big deal. That's kind of typically how people who don't really respect other people's time do. Yeah, I don't think you're the asshole for yelling at him. If I were you, I would probably not be with him anymore. Again, that depends on how long you've been together, whether or not you want to pursue the relationship. But the two of you are on opposite ends of the spectrum. You are somebody who's very punctual and it's important to you to be on time. So for him to be consistently late, it bothers you. And if you were to stay in a relationship with him, it is going to continue to bother you. Like you were probably going to get into like knockdown, drag out arguments over his punctuality. And for me, when I was in that situation with somebody, I just had to accept that's who he was. He just was not a punctual person. Clearly, we're not together anymore. I mean, that's one of the reasons, but there's many. But I just, if I ever decide I want to get back in the dating scene, that is something that I will not tolerate. You know, if you can't be on time for like a date that we set up, you just don't respect me enough as a person, and or yourself, because obviously you have to get up to be on time for work, etc. So yeah, no, I don't think you're the asshole at all. Again, you didn't mention if you plan on continuing to date. Like I said, if you do, this is a big yellow flag. This is a yellow flag for you. Maybe some people may not think that's that big of a deal. It really depends on like how important being on time is for you. For me, it's about a respect thing. And I'm just a very punctual person. I hate being late. So if I'm late for something, I'm calling, oh my God, I'm like 5 minutes late. And you know, the funny thing is, sometimes when I'm late, I'm only like 1 or 2 minutes late because I always build in a lot of extra time so that I'm there early. I like to be early. I like to get to a place 15 minutes early. But also, if something happens, I have a little bit of a buffer to get me there on time. That's kind of how I think when I go to an event or to an appointment or something like that. So yeah, I do not think you're the asshole. I just think that, like I said, if you continue to date him, this is going to be a point of contention throughout your whole relationship. And you really just have to decide whether or not you're willing to accept that. And yeah, I wouldn't, but I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming you're in high school, so you're very young. When you're younger, I don't know, you tend to be willing to accept more bullshit than when you're older. I'm older, so my bandwidth for bullshit is very, very low. It's kind of like 0. Or maybe like 1. But yes, not the asshole. All right, those are all the ones I'm going to do today. Like, comment, subscribe. That's my time. Bye.